Just waiting us to go live. In terms of the stream, Myles, where does a link pop up for me to paste into the issue?
I think you can use the link we normally use because this all goes to that same live thing now. As far as
we're live right now. If you look at the top left, it says live on YouTube, and if you click on that, there's a copy streaming link. I can put that in for you.
Okay, I've got it. It started it for me in the thing. So everybody, welcome to the Technical Steering Committee meeting for February 22nd, 2018, and we'll get started with our regular agenda. I first just need to paste the YouTube link into the issue so people can start watching. So we're going to follow our regular agenda. So the first thing on the agenda is for people to announce if they have any or make any announcements that they want to share with the team. Are there any announcements this week? No, if we have no announcements, then let's move on to the regular things that were tagged as TSC agenda across the repo. The first one is under Node.js/nodes, source delete process.m values set undefined 18158. I think the latest discussion I saw when I looked yesterday was that we could just mention that and discussion would complete, although maybe now I'm remembering that there was suggestion we should actually start a vote, and that might be the next step. Rich, do you have a clear coverage of what the next step is?
Probably, but I've been multitasking. Which
It was 18158. We were discussing whether that needed to be on the agenda. It's process M value set to undefined. I think we were thinking, we could push it back to GitHub because nobody was strongly pushing it. But I think Matteo suggested maybe we should just have a vote on it, and otherwise it'll just sit around for a while.
Well, it looks to me like people are weighing in the issue tracker, and Jeremiah just posted something 5 minutes ago. I think we can just leave it on the agenda for another week until Matteo or Timothy is here. Although I see Michael Sazo is here, so maybe he has some ideas about what the next step is to move that forward if we need a vote or not. But we can probably figure that out offline, though.
Okay, that's what I think we were trending for when I last looked. So okay, let's do that. Then, so the only other two issues we have are our tracking issues, which is I think what we knew was going to happen, just to make sure we gave an update. So the first one is the tracking issue for TSC board updates. So Myles, do you want to give us an update of what's been going on that front?
Yeah, well, so we are actually going to be having Mark Hinkle join us next week. And so I figure maybe it would be good to punt it until next week when he's on the call with us. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me. Okay,
great.
Okay, so the other issue we had on the issue then is an update on the strategic initiatives, which is TSC issue 423. I'm just opening that up to get to the list. So going through the list, Myles, do you want to start by giving us an update on modules?
Absolutely. So we have the newly formed modules working group currently sitting at either 43 or 44 members. I can't remember exactly how many. We held our first working group meeting last week where we had some conversations around governance and setup and just like how the group will run. We have now settled on a recurring time for the meeting. It will be Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 8 p.m. GMT. That is in the Node.js calendar now. If you're not aware of it, you can go to nodejs.org/calendar, and that will be a calendar of all the different meetings of all the different organizations and working groups. We will meet bi-weekly. Our next meeting is on the 28th. Some of the major conversations that are happening right now are largely structural. We're figuring out how we want to govern the working group as well as handle membership and engagement. And then we have a number of different PRs that are open, but the most important one to keep your eye on right now is the goals PR, which is, I will double check the exact version, the number right now. It is PR number 23. And in it, we're kind of discussing as a working group what the high level goals of the team will be, what our aims are, what we're going to be what we're going to be setting up. And sorry, 1 second. I just want to promote the two people, the panelists. There we go. And Michael, you can claim host as well on that.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for the button, but I'll let you keep going. Oh, yeah. I think I found it. Yep. Go ahead.
Cool. So we'll keep you all up to date as we have any sort of, further movement on, implementation stuff. If you go on the modules repo, one thing that you can keep an eye on is projects. So if you go to GitHub Node.js/modules, we have 3 projects in here right now. We have a pull request against core, governance, and summit. The pull request against core is just keeping track of, what pull requests we're looking to implement, which pull requests are currently open and, are in discussion, and which ones are done and have landed. This is generally focusing on larger architecture pull requests and not smaller, tweaks and refactors. We have a governance tracker, which is keeping track of different discussions that we are having about our governance, what's in discussion, what's in progress. And then the summit, and this is actually a good thing to give you all a heads up about. We are planning a 1-day online summit where various members of the working group are going to give talks about the different things that they know and understand about modules from their unique perspective. It should be like a really, really amazing knowledge share. We're in the midst of picking a date for that and curating content. Once we have the date picked, I'll let the team know. I think that's about it on an update from the modules group for now.
Okay, the next one in the list is an API. Pretty much the same status as the last time I reported. We're very close to putting forward a proposal to go out of experimental. We're just waiting on our second module going into production within DevEdge at Microsoft. We are also still pursuing the PR in Node Pregip. As I reported before, we already have 1 module in production use, and we actually have a couple of other modules that are being used in the real world, which we're documenting and will include in sort of our proposal. That's the API side. Looking in terms of the rest of the list, I think the ones, since we don't have James today, we can skip a number of those. New Streams APIs, is there something you want to say on that front, Jeremiah?
Sure. So we've done more. I've started to do some work into the C++ side of things, and also continue working to the JavaScript part of things. I did some profiling recently, and so the unoptimized JavaScript prototype takes about like 7 times less CPU usage on file copy, and 30% less CPU usage on, or a third less CPU usage on zlib transform, and those are both of very large operations. So that's looking up, and we're going to be doing some C++ work next to start ironing out things on that side.
Okay, thank you. Michael Zasso, any update on the V8 currency side of things?
Yes, so there is a PR open for the update to V8 6.5. It's still blocked because this version is not stable yet, but I ran the CI on it, and there are no issues on the Node side, but some V8 tests are failing on PPC and another platform. I think it's also IBM platform. And I don't know if maybe you, Michael, have an update.
I don't have an update on those. I do know that that the people who need to be looking at that should be looking at it. If it's getting close to the point where that's going to be a problem, let me know and I'll ping them again.
I can also ping them.
Sure. Yeah. If you want to just say, hey, can you give me an update on where we're at? I know we, by the time it goes stable, we always make sure it's clean, but sometimes it's a few days after that. Just, we have to keep up as they make the changes. But yeah, ping them and see, just it doesn't hurt. And it's best to have the info in the issue itself anyway. So.
On another side, I also updated the Update V8 tool that I developed to help upgrading V8 so that it works with the current Canary version, because there are no zip files anymore in that. So I copied all the zip files when they were still here, and I copy paste them when V8 is updated. For now it works, but it will break when we need to update things in the zip files. For example, when new C++ files are added or moved, or the names are changed. So I don't know yet how this will work, if we do it manually or if we create a tool to do that. That's still unknown.
Okay. So is that something you're looking at to figure out, or?
I'd like to do that, but I don't
Okay.
have time right now.
Sure. Yeah, it's not a panic. I was just wondering if we needed to try and, figure out if we needed as a group to do anything else. But it sounds like so far, you're on top of it, and you'll let us know if there's something.
Yeah,
that
for
has
now
to
it's
happen.
working. So the Canary versions are still working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Next on the list is TSC governance. Myles, do you want us to give an update on that front?
Yeah, so I mean, right now with the governance, we haven't dug in much further than some of the more recent changes that we did around like higher level expectations for the org. We have the leadership committee that's going to be meeting later today, and that's a bi-weekly meeting. And it's possible, that some discussion there may affect governance, but not extremely likely. To be honest, this is something that I want to pick up. There's conversations that we've had in the past around trying to give more autonomy to working groups. I've been going through our governance documentation and realizing that there actually isn't any documentation around what the working group is responsible for in the case of escalation. So I guess I could use this as an opportunity. We have a bunch of us on here. What I'm thinking about doing is maybe putting together some language around anytime that we don't have consensus in the tracker of trying to push it to the working group before it goes to the TSC. Does anybody see any potential problems with that? If I were able to work up some language in our governance documents to kind of err towards that?
I think there already is language in there to that effect, is there not?
I was trying to find it and couldn't. I thought that there was too. But in our actual charter, there's nothing. And in the working group charters, there's nothing.
Oh, no, it's not in the charter. I think it's in governance.md in the main repo. Let me see if I can find it. But I'm not opposed to a sentence or two basically saying, that we prioritize doing things in the tracker as much as possible.
Well, I think what Myles was proposing is like there's definitely language that says, once a working group is chartered, they have authority over that area. What I don't think we found is language that says if we don't reach consensus in an issue and that issue pertains to a particular working group, that actually, as opposed to going to the TSC, it should be referred to the working group. They can take an independent decision.
But I mean, that's understood because we delegate. There's all the text about how we delegate authority to the working group, and we can't take that authority away unless we decharter them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think it's just that.
I think we're just not doing it in practice.
Yeah, and people don't necessarily think of that.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any way around that. I think people are going to refer stuff to the TSC and not the working groups a lot, and we just have to, redirect to the working groups. But an additional sentence to that effect is, not a problem. I don't know. I don't know if there's really a place where people will see it, to be honest. Maybe in the onboarding doc or something like that, or the collaborator guide.
Exactly. I think onboarding would, remind collaborators that would be a good idea.
The other thing I was thinking about potentially doing was like some other projects have the concept of owners, and like the language may not be the best language, but having something inside of folders that lets you know who to ping for review on certain things or who to ping for escalation. I think that like it becomes part of like slightly a discoverability problem. And yeah, it can be on the TSC to punt it to the right working group when it's appropriate. But I think that there may be better ways to do this. So that's like what I'm interested in exploring.
Okay, and any more discussion on that front?
There was a question from Jeremiah about the leadership team meeting thing. To directly quote it, I can try to answer it, and then Jeremiah, just let me know if I'm not. So the group is comprised of the TSC chair, the TSC director, the chairs of the community committee, the individual directors from the individual membership program, which currently are William Capkate and Ashley Williams, as well as a number of board members. Currently, we've been joined by Todd Moore and Sarah Novotny, and there's other board members who have expressed interest and are likely to join. The main thing that we're focusing on for right now is the individual membership program itself. What is the purpose of the individual membership program? What is the value of the membership program? How does community representation work on the board? So right now there's the director chair from the TSC, as well as these two chairs from the individual membership program. But if we don't think that the membership program is successful and we want to make changes, does it make sense to continue having those two chairs? Alternatively, if we don't have those two chairs, then, you know, should we have a seat for someone from the ComCom? So we were not able to reach consensus at a board level because of the meetings are once a month, and it was just hard to really flesh stuff out. So we're trying to have these conversations in a subcommittee that can come to you know, a conclusion and come up with a proposal that they can bring to the board. And we have close to, if not already, a quorum of board members inside of this committee, including an equal representation of community and corporate representation. So the hope is that with this smaller group, we can, you know, get something off the ground, you know, and figure out what the future of the program looks like. Moving forward past that, I'm imagining that we want to keep this as like a central place where we can drive initiatives. For myself, joining the board, I definitely entered into it wanting to like do things and get things done. A really great example, I would say right now, which has been brought up, was we talked about getting YubiKeys for people or potentially getting a group license for IRC Cloud. Is possible for the board to sign off on a preliminary budget for that subcommittee, and that subcommittee that would meet more regularly could actually just sign off on things to do with that budget without requiring board approval. So I'm imagining that long-term, this subcommittee will act as a really great place for the ComCom, the TSC, and the board to all, you know, share concerns and initiatives that they want to see through, as well as, you know, get things moving without having to wait for the monthly cadence of the board meetings. Do you have any other questions, Jeremiah, or anyone else for that matter? Cool. Mike.
Okay, so looking at the list, I think in terms of people that we have here, the remaining one is workers. So I don't know if there's anything to report on that front.
Nah, I'm still mostly doing stream stuff right now. I haven't done much in the last 2 weeks or so, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The one thing I'd mention on that front is from the benchmarking survey that went out, there were a few related questions, and there was some interest on that front. So once that data sort of gets digested, maybe we should at least make the report back here and what the end user said in terms of interest on that front as well, because there definitely was some.
Yeah, I mean, like, I still want to like open a PR with workers' work, but the first, like, I'm not going to be able to do that before like first week of March or something.
Yeah, no, I just
like, yeah.
just asking because we'll go through the whole list. No pressure or anything. Okay, so that's the list. I think I've covered everything for which we have somebody here. Unless, let me just see, is there anybody who's participating in the async hook side that has an update? I know Trevor's not here, but they're just looking in the list of people. I guess, yeah, I don't see anybody else, I think, offhand who I know could update us on that. So that concludes our updates for the strategic initiatives. And I believe that's also the end of our agenda for this week. So before we move on to questions from YouTube, are there any other action or agenda items people want to discuss or things that people want to discuss? I'll take that as a no. So anybody who's watching on YouTube, if you have a question, here's the call for questions. I see some comments in terms of I see the top chat. I don't know if that shows me everything. Let's see if
That should be everything.
That should be everything. Okay, so I don't see any questions yet.
Doesn't look like there are any. I think we can spin down the stream.
Yep. Okay. So at this point, we'll call it a day. And where is the...
I've got the button right now.
Okay, you got the button.